Running into an issue with Windows 10? There's probably a troubleshooter for it. In the search box, search for Troubleshoot Settings and select Open. Then, find the right troubleshooter for your issue. If you don't see any listed, select Additional Troubleshooters. That's it. Need more help? Go to support.microsoft.com/Windows.
Let's talk about this business over here, these live tiles. I have an opinion about these live tiles. They are extremely useful and completely useless. It depends entirely on whether or not you or your IT team take a moment and customize them. So the first thing I like to tell anyone is if you see things inside of here that are not relevant to you or that you don't use, go through and remove them. And then pin only the stuff that you do use. So if at the end of this exercise you have only, the internet, Outlook, and Word, those 3 tiles will be more useful to you than all of these. So let's talk about how exactly we do that.
Yeah.
So first things first, on your smartphone, how would you rearrange the apps on your home screen?
Press and hold.
You got it. So same thing here in Windows 10. Using your finger, press and hold on any live tile and it pops out immediately. You'll see there are now 2 little white circles here. This top one will unpin it. So let me find an app that I'm not using right now. Let's say Candy Crush. Not using that at all. I promise, I swear. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this unpin icon and away it goes. Now, everything that you can do with touch, you can also do with your mouse. So I'm going to see Minecraft here. You know what? I don't really want to use that. Well, it's a little bit of a different movement with my mouse. I'm going to right-click on that app. So when I right-click, I then see Unpin from Start as an available option. Inside of here, I also, if I have the permissions to do so, can uninstall that application. And I have additional options and settings. And of course, in Windows 10, we allow you to choose multiple different tile sizes. If something's more or less important to you, you can customize the look and feel. All of that available here, but I'll go ahead and unpin it. Now, let's say you wanted to rearrange these tiles, move them around the screen. Simply press and hold with your finger, that will pop out. And then you can move that tile wherever your heart's content. I'll leave it right there, just where it was. Now, if you recall, when I press and hold, I get these 2 white buttons. The bottom one, take a look, it's that same menu. So it's nice and consistent across how I'm using it. It'll even give me a bit more room for my fingers because I'm doing this using touch. Now, you might notice on my start menu that I have these little titles here, Create, Explore. You can create your own groupings. So if I wanted to do that, let's say I wanted to create an Office grouping. Notice I don't have many Office products. So I'm gonna scroll through my list of everything on the computer and behold, here is Excel. So I'm going to click and drag and watch this. The second that my mouse crosses the threshold, plop, it's a tile. And now I can place this tile wherever I would like, or I can put it in between 2 existing groups. So you see here, there's that line that is appearing. This is Windows letting me know, hey, when you release, we're going to make a new group. So I'll release that there. And if I hover my mouse over it, you see name group in light gray. I'm gonna call this Office. And there we go. So I can continue to add different apps to this, no problem. Now let's say, you know what, Jared? I like this, but I don't want to use live tiles. I want to pin it to my taskbar at the bottom of the screen, like I'm used to with Windows 7. That's perfectly fine. All you do, grab Excel, move it right down to your taskbar at the bottom, and release. And just like that, you'll notice Excel is now pinned here. So I'm able to use it no problem. I could even click and drag and move this to my desktop if I wanted to create an icon there. So it gives me a lot of different options for how best to customize my start menu and have just very quick access to the things throughout the day.
Great. Yeah, it looks great. It's nice, I think, also with live tiles because you're able to consume some information without actually opening the application. So for things like mail and calendar and weather, even news applications are really great. So you can actually absorb some content and save yourself a little bit of time throughout your day. Thanks.
Absolutely. So you're rolling out a whole bunch of devices. We want to help you as much as we can. On this module, we're going to talk through a bit of the things we find useful in empowering your users to get the most out of their Surface. Things like battery life, all these different reports. It's really important that they are set up for success from day one.
Yeah, we want to give you those answers before your end users come to you with the questions ahead of time, so you're really well equipped and prepared. Yeah. You've got enough on your plate deploying new devices, so we want to help you out as much as possible.
Very aware, yes. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about battery life.
Yeah, obviously we all want to get the most out of our devices throughout our workday, whether we're on the go, whether we're just sitting at our office all day. It's important that we're ensuring the health of our battery on these devices for the long run. Yeah. So the first piece of advice that we can give is specifically to enable hibernation on your system image. Especially if you have a lot of mobile employees and they're using these devices on the go, they may need to pick up where they left off very quickly, and so hibernate allows them to save pretty well all the power on that device while it's in their bag, while they're in a meeting, for example, and they'll still be ready to go when they jump back out.
And to be clear, hibernation, it is turned off by default because it's now a part of the standard process with the sleep cycle. Like a human's, it has a REM cycle and then kind of a deep sleep. And so it begins in connected standby and then will translate into pure hibernation. However, if you have some policies that maybe conflict, some programs that might prevent it from going into hibernation, that can sometimes affect their battery life while in the bag or seemingly unused. The battery could still drain in those circumstances. So by enabling that option, if a user's having a particular challenge, they can for sure know that everything has been committed to RAM, the computer is using little to no power in that deep hibernation mode almost immediately. Again, this is sort of a measure for extenuating circumstances, but can still help prolong the battery life. Another one of the main points regarding battery life is your screen brightness. Oftentimes we have this perception that the most important thing for battery is how many programs are you running, how fast is the processor burning. And while that does matter, it's nowhere near the power consumption of the massive light panel built into your device. So by lowering that screen brightness just a couple steps or allowing Windows to control that with the suggested setting, you're able to get much longer battery life. But what's important for users to understand is that when they change that brightness setting, it's gonna stay there until they put it back to suggested. So if they, for one day, decide, I want maximum screen brightness, then that is going to kind of remain there until they turn it back down. So important things we wanna make sure that they're aware of so they're getting the most out of it.
We do have a feature called Connected Standby on Windows, and it works really great on Surface. It allows the device to stay connected while it's in sleep mode, so that way when the user opens it up, it's already pre-connected. But if you find that that's draining the battery life more than you would like it, or you may get a comment from an end user about that, there is a policy to disable that Connected Standby mode. That's gonna just help conserve battery life while the device is shut off, whether it's currently in sleep or hibernate, so that you can really maximize the battery life throughout the day. And as you're servicing these devices and you've got users remote that are having maybe an issue, whether it's with an app or with their device, you need to be able to remote in really easily and service that device. Now, we all know classic remote desktop on Windows. It's been there for a while, but we do have a new Universal Windows application in the Windows Store. It is free to download, and it does a lot better in Windows 10 with scaling.
That's a big part, and we understand that that is kind of a source of contention with the older application. Using these new modern devices with these 4K pixel density screens, we needed a modern solution to do it. Your first reaction might hear, oh my gosh, a modern app for something that's just so integral to the system. Is it actually able to do it as well as the previous one? It uses a lot of the same exact login credentials, and it has even more functionality than the classic remote desktop client that is built into Windows. So this does need to be added through the Windows Store, the Microsoft Store, as an extra app that can be side-loaded if you don't permit access to the Microsoft Store. It's something, though, that we highly recommend that you add at least on your devices as members of IT, but even allowing your users to access this if there's business cases in your organization. The new Remote Desktop app is brilliant. How you download it, just simply look up Remote Desktop on the Microsoft Store. You might see two listings. One is Remote Desktop Preview, and that is for us testing some of the new features. So if you ever want to be a little bit ahead of the curve, you can download that version. But of course, the standard Remote Desktop app is more often than not the way to go.
Yeah. And speaking of applications that are sometimes already installed and sometimes we go out and install them ourselves, the Tips application is a particularly useful app to provide for your end users, but there's also some good tidbits in there for IT pros as well. So this is an app that is installed on Windows by default. You can find it in your Start menu, of course, and it's going to give you helpful tips and tricks, on-screen walkthroughs, and what's really great about this app is that it's not just aware of the version of Windows you're on, it's also aware of the device that you're using as well.
If I had one sentence to tell a user, hey, how do I use my new Windows 10 machine? It would be open the Tips app, because it does take you step by step, even from what is the Start menu to tips that are unique for you as IT members. So we highly and strongly recommend that you do not remove the Tips app as a part of your system image. And if it's currently being removed, it's worth considering to add back, because it's a great tool for you to be able to go to a user and say, why don't you take a look through the Tips app? You could probably use it. And it gives you a way to help them be successful.
Awesome. Another thing that we hear sometimes when somebody gets a new Surface, because of these high pixel density displays, they're gorgeous, very bright, and super crisp, but at times the elements, whether they're UI elements like the close and minimize buttons, or whether it's font, can sometimes be different sizes than what we expect them to be. And if you're having a hard time reading it, instead of changing resolution, it's important to encourage your end users to change the scaling settings first.
We've done a lot of work with the scaling settings, to be very clear, from Windows 7 to Windows 8 even. Windows 8 kind of pushed things forward with regards to adaptive scaling. Windows 10 almost perfects it. Because Windows 10, the second that you take something on a screen that's set to, let's say, 200% of size, which is the default for your Surface screen, and move that over to a regular HD monitor that is 100% of size, that app, the second your mouse crosses the threshold, thump, it resizes and is the appropriate view for whichever screen. Here's the important distinction. Not all apps do this. We, Microsoft, can control apps that adjust their size based on percentage of window size. But if that app is written to take up a certain amount of pixels, it might either appear giant or tiny, depending on which screen you're using. And sadly, that is part of transitioning to a new format of 4K style screens. We encountered similar problems with Windows XP moving to high definition in the first place. So it's one of those things that, regardless if it's a Surface or any other device that we're currently facing as an industry, but Windows 10 does a really good job of making sure your apps look as best as possible on each different monitor. And we're also adding improvements to Windows 10 along the way and updates to make that even more seamless.
Yeah, and on that note specifically, you may find if you open a Windows 32 application, if it does appear a little blurry at times, you'll probably get a notification asking you if the application is blurry, and if so, we'd love if you could report that to us. It helps us work with the software vendors to be able to correct them so that they work best on Windows.
So this is just the beginning of the long list of things that we're focusing on at Microsoft to empower users to work more effectively. These are things that you as an IT team can either add to your image or set as a policy to help extend battery life, make the device run better, and also just make them more aware of how to best use their machine.
Now, often we find ourselves as we're working through a project, copying and pasting a lot of things, whether that's a URL, an image, whatever. Now, right now I'm looking at a Word document, and let's say I'm talking about the history of the clipboard. Over the past hour or so, I may have been doing some research on my web browser and copying things throughout. What's really nice now in Windows is that it'll actually save that history of things that we've been looking at and copying throughout our different browsing sessions. So here, if I press Windows key V, I get this flyout menu that shows me a history of all of those different things that I've been finding on my search for the history of the clipboard. If I scroll down, I've got this image here and I can pop that in and build that into my presentation. And when it comes to adding text, of course, I can press Windows key V again, and we'll see that string of text that I copied from Wikipedia. I can press it, and we've got all of it right here. Hyperlinks included, which is pretty powerful as well. Now, we've already got some text from our research we were doing a little while ago, but let's jump back into our browser and find some new content to throw in. This is really easy to do. All you have to do is find what you need to throw into your document here. Let's say storage clipboards, for example, and we're talking about those next. Just highlight, select, and you can right-click to say copy, or just Control-C if you're a power user and want to use those nice shortcuts. And then back here on Word or anywhere else, you could press Windows key V again, and you see it shows up with that new piece of text that I copied just a few seconds ago. Click it and pop it right into Word. Easy. So this is a really great tool to allow you to copy something on one device, switch to another, and of course, because you're signed into the same account, that clipboard history will roam across your devices, making your workflow a lot easier.
How to create and use Windows Recovery Drive. If your PC runs into some problems, for example, not booting into Windows, this video can help you create a recovery drive or use a system restore point. Create a recovery drive and boot to WinRE. Type in search, create a recovery drive, in the search bar. Then click Create a recovery drive. Tick the checkbox for Backup System Files to the recovery. Plug in a USB drive. All files on the USB flash drive will be deleted during the process, so please back up your files first if you have data inside originally. Select USB drive. Click Next and then Create. It will take about 2 hours for the whole process. Click Finish when the recovery drive is ready. First, plug in the USB drive. Press and hold the Escape key, then press the Power key to enter the ASUS boot process. Select the USB boot device. The computer will enter Windows Recovery environment. Choose the language and your keyboard layout. Recover from the system drive. Choose Recover from a drive. You can choose to enter one of them based on your needs. Choose Recover to start the process. Make sure the AC adapter is plugged in during the process. Also, do not force shutdown to prevent any issues. The computer will restart and enter the basic setting page of Windows after the recovery is completed. After completing the setup, it will back to Windows. Restore the system by Restore Point. First, select Troubleshoot, then System Restore. Choose your operating system. Select the Next to start the process. You can choose a restore point that you would like to perform. If the restore point information is correct, then select Finish. Click Yes to start the restore process. Please make sure the AC adapter is connected during the process, and do not force to shut down to prevent any issues. The computer will restart and enter Windows after the restore is completed. Congratulations! Now, the system is back to the restore point. Welcome to subscribe to our ASUS support channel. We are happy to provide you with more useful information.
Turn on Dark Mode. In any Microsoft 365 application, select File, then select Options. Change Office theme to black, and select OK. Now, Dark Mode is on across all Microsoft 365 apps, like PowerPoint, Word, and Excel. Need more help? Go to support.microsoft.com.
We all know how to use a Windows PC at its core, but on these great touchscreen devices we call Surface, we have tablet mode, and that makes it a lot easier to navigate through Windows using touch.
Absolutely. I adore tablet mode for when we want that touch-first experience, which, let's be clear, is not always, but sometimes as we're on the go, it's really great. So to do this, I'm going to be dramatic. I'm gonna take my type cover and rip it off. I don't need it because this is tablet mode. And I'm also going to recline my Surface Pro into what we call studio mode, physically, of course. Now, you still see it in desktop mode. So how I'm gonna get to tablet mode, I'm gonna swipe in from the right side of my screen. That brings us back into Action Center. And then I will toggle it with this button you see right here, tablet mode. Now, look at what happens once I enter into tablet mode. It changes dramatically. Now, if you're thinking this looks a little bit like Windows 8, you're not wrong. It is full screen with the live tiles front and center, but it's available to you as an option now, of course. So I can see those live tiles that I've chosen to pin because they're important to me. And if I'm forgetting something, I can simply press this button right here, which is all apps. And now I have that exact same alphabetic list of all the apps on my computer. This also includes, yes, of course, Paint and everything else I'm used to, but now full screen.
The full start menu really is still there available for you.
Exactly, anything that you want to use. Now, as I'm going through this, the live tiles are front and center, but I actually did have some things running a little bit earlier. So how can I see what I'm currently using on the computer? Well, that is a feature called Task View, and everything about tablet mode is about the edges of the screen. Keep that in mind. So I can get into my Task View mode by swiping in from the left-hand side of the screen. And just like that, I'm able to see the apps that I'm using now, as well as my history of usage down in my timeline. So I can go ahead and tap the internet, and here is Microsoft Edge. I can swipe and tap again and switch to Microsoft Teams and all the different things that I want to use, including a good old-fashioned file folder. Now, we've had this since the dawn of computing, but now in tablet mode, the file folder modifies itself. How do you select multiple things in a folder? If you're thinking Control-click right now, that is correct, but how do I hold Control with no keyboard? So you'll notice there's little nice check boxes that we have made available here. Everything on this side column has a little bit more padding, so I can easily press it with my finger. How do you copy things, paste things, select everything in a folder? Those are all popular keyboard combinations. So what we've done is we've put them here at the top of the folder. So I have nice, easily clickable buttons, including one for select all. All of these nice, familiar tools. Now, how do you close something in tablet mode? Say I don't want this folder running anymore. Take your finger from the very top of your Surface and pull down. That puts it in your grasp, and now its fate is in your hands. If you continue your path of destruction down to the bottom of the screen, that completely closes the application. Not running anymore. Look, I'll swipe into Task View, nothing up my sleeve, it's gone. Now, what if I don't want to completely close something? Instead, I want to run two things at once. So I'm gonna pull down from the top of my screen. Instead of going to the bottom, I'm going to now move it to one side or the other. Now, as I do this, you see there's that bar chasing me across the screen that's letting me know, hey, when you let go, we're gonna snap it. Just like that, Windows 10 understands I don't want to simply admire my desktop background over there. I want to do something else. So it gives me a miniature version of Task View. So I can simply select, let's say, Microsoft Teams, and put that over there on the side. Teams is responsive and automatically adjusts itself, giving me a nice view on both, so I'm able to scroll and scroll here and use it kind of like my mobile command center, seeing everything I want at the same time. Now, if I don't like this view, I simply grab that bar in the middle and push it all the way off to one side. That's also how you can resize the different items on your screen as you are using them.
Now, another thing that you'll notice here on tablet mode, at the taskbar at the very bottom, all of our icons have disappeared, and they haven't been removed. They're still there if we switch out of tablet mode, but the reason we've removed them for this mode specifically is to make it easier to hold your device with one hand, still navigate, without the fear of opening new applications that you don't necessarily want to at the time.
Exactly.
We've also included a back button there as well, so if you're in the web and you're browsing, it becomes really easy, muscle memory to just press that back button in the bottom left corner, so it just makes navigating through File Explorer, Edge, and other browsers as well a more natural experience with touch.
When you exit tablet mode, it's not a fundamental shift. You're not using a different computer. It's the same computer. So I want to show you what that looks like. Let's say I'm in the middle of using some different applications. So I'll go ahead and open Teams here on the side, and I'll move that over to the right-hand side. We'll split that with Microsoft Edge. And then now I want to exit tablet mode. Well, there's a couple of ways. Once you reattach your type cover to your Surface, or if you're using a Surface Book 2, if you reattach your base, it might prompt you. Or if it doesn't, you can simply swipe in from the right side of the screen again and toggle tablet mode off. Now watch what happens when I do this. Not much, and that's exactly the point. Now you'll notice I have my close, maximize, and minimize buttons back at the top of my different apps. When I hit start, I get my nice compact and familiar start menu, so it's right back where I was. All in all, it's a simple addition to change the user interface slightly so that you're able to use your device more effectively while you're on the go.
How to create installation media to reinstall Windows 10 via USB drive. If your PC runs into some problems, for example, not booting into Windows. This video can help you create or use Windows installation media on a USB drive to reinstall Windows 10. Create Windows 10 installation media. Go to Microsoft website, click Download Tool now to download Windows 10 installation media tool. Double-click Media Creation tool to start the installation. Allow this app to make changes to your device. Applicable notices and license terms, please select Accept. Plug in USB drive. Select Create Installation Media for another PC, then select Next. Please follow the instructions to set up. Select USB drive, then click Next to the process. Now your USB drive is ready. Reinstall Windows 10 with installation media. First, plug in the USB drive. Press and hold the Escape key, then press the Power key to enter the ASUS boot process. Select USB boot device. The computer will enter Windows setup. Choose the language, time and currency format, and keyboard or input method. Click Install now. If your computer was built-in Windows operating system, please select I don't have a product key. Tick the checkbox for I accept the license terms. Select Custom. Install Windows only. Choose Drive 0 unallocated space to reinstall Windows. Make sure the AC adapter is plugged in during the process, and do not force shutdown to prevent any issues. The computer will restart and enter the Windows out-of-box experience. Now you're finishing to reinstall Windows. Thanks for watching, and welcome to subscribe to our ASUS support channel. We are happy to provide you with more useful information.
When you sign in at office.com, you can create and share professional-looking presentations. Use animations, transitions, photos, and online videos to tell one-of-a-kind stories and even co-author with others. When you begin, you'll find an array of design themes. Start the pre-made slides or create your own with pictures, shapes, icons, and your imagination. Need a different look? Select Design Ideas to see several effective content layout ideas. Since you're working in the cloud, your work is saved automatically. With Office for the web, you can co-create or share your docs with anyone. People can co-write or review your doc in a browser at office.com.
When adjusting a picture in PowerPoint, you may need to make that picture transparent. You can do this by inserting the picture inside a shape. Select Insert, Shapes. Pick your shape. Adjust the shape as necessary. The shape should be proportional to the picture you are inserting. Otherwise, the image will become skewed. Next, select Shape Fill, Picture. Insert pictures from a location of your choice. Choose your image, insert. Adjust the shape if needed to make the image proportional. Right-click the image and select Format Picture. Select the first icon under Shape Options to see the fill controls. Then, drag the transparency slider to get the degree of transparency you want. You can optionally remove the outline from the shape by right-clicking on the shape. Select Outline, No Outline.
If your battery isn't lasting as long as it should, here are some things you can do to extend time between charges. First, install the latest updates. Search for Windows Update and select Check for Updates. Then, turn on Battery Saver. It's built into Windows 10. In the taskbar, search for Battery Saver and choose Battery Saver in System Settings. Select Turn Battery Saver on automatically if my battery falls below, and move the slider further to the right for longer battery life. This might slow down performance of some apps since they won't be running in the background all the time. To turn Battery Saver on immediately, use this switch. It'll stay on until the next time you plug in your Surface. Set the other options to get the results you want. Next, run the Power Troubleshooter. In the taskbar, search for Troubleshoot and choose Troubleshoot in System Settings. Select Power then run the troubleshooter and follow the steps to see more ways to save battery power.